I am Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. It is the 12th of July today, and actually I shouldn't be here. It is my wedding anniversary today, so I promised my wife only one more hour in the bees, and then I'm going back to her. So I'm going to play with my other girls just now, and it's a windy day, so I'm just off to one side here in the shelter of the trees because my furry microphone's not working. What I wanted to do is I've got my Damaree Split hives, the tall hives, the only big ones I've got on this yard that are producing me some honey. And when I was in here last week, I went through the first Damaree hive I did, and it's doing extremely well, except I found that the lower brood chamber was starting to get queen cells, so it was looking to prepare to swarm. I went through, cut out every queen cell, and hopefully I successfully did so, and the colony won't have swarmed yet. And so I took that as a cue to go through the other 7 that I did the same way, found no queen cells in those, so I'm going to take it that they're still okay. But I wanted to go back into these hives right now to make sure that there are no queen cells left in there, or they've stopped. If there's still a honey flow, they may well have continued rebuilding queen cells because they feel like there was the opportunity to swarm. However, the honey flow is dying down, and this should give me an idea of just how much it's dying down, because I did add another honey super. The green one on the top there was an additional honey super I added. If there's any honey in there, then the honey flow has been continuing this last week, because that's easier to see in the empty box than it is to see in the other boxes, which were sort of 70-80% full of honey already. So there is no clustering. Well, there's not that much clustering, but there is a little bit on 1 or 2 hives. This hive still looks busy, no clustering there. And so that would infer to me there is still a bit of a flow on, but it may not be significant enough to keep me keeping the honey supers on. So we're going to have a look, we're going to stop, I'm going to get the smoke on the hives, get my gloves on, and have a look. Hot. That means they're curing nectar. There's a lot of bees up in this honey super. I don't see any white wax up here. Considering it's been here for a week, if there'd been a honey flow on, there'd be a fair amount of white wax here. So there's nothing new. We'd see little lines of white wax on these frames. The comb would have been drawn out a little bit extra. To me, this looks like no flow. Take a frame out and have a look. There's about a pound of nectar in here. Not a great deal for a week. If there'd been a honey flow on, that should have filled up. So maybe about 10 pounds of honey in here. So there's some. It's actually accumulated. It feels a lot heavier than I was expecting it to be. Now there is some white wax here. White on the edges here, white in there, white in there. The comb doesn't stay very white for very long when you've got so many bees walking on it. So that's promising. Some of this honey, like here and here, has been here for a little while. It's gone, it's been buffed down, so it's not white and shiny, whereas this stuff here is white and shiny. And I can see some down in here, which all looks white and brand new. I'm not going to go through this soup as such. It's going to be very heavy. Now, one thing I can do with this honey right now is do a test with a refractometer to see how cured the honey is. Went to one of the frames near the middle. Half of this is capped, the other half not, and on this side maybe a third is capped. The question is it cured? Because we can shake the bees off, no drops come off it, but the question is the water content reduced adequately to harvest this honey? And the way we tell that is using a refractometer. A refractometer will measure the extent to which light is bent passing through a drop of honey. Clear water refracts light. You know, when you look into a swimming pool or a pond, you know the fish is there, but it looks like it's over there. Or you throw a penny in the pool, and you know it's there, but it looks like it's a different distance away. That's refraction. The water to light, the water to air has bent the light. Honey does the same thing. The more sugar that's in the water, the more it bends the light. And a refractometer measures that, so you know how much sugar or how much water there is in the honey. So I'll take some of the honey that's not cured here. Put a drop of it on there. So there's a drop of honey in the refractometer. Wow, that's 15.5% water. That means it is well and truly cured. Actually, the magic number we're looking for is about 18.5. So this honey is certainly harvestable. So I could take this honey off right now if I want to, because it's well and truly cured. So we don't have to wait for it all to be capped. If you've got a refractometer, you can tell that way. Oh boy. Just making sure it's not stuck to the French super below. That might account why it feels so heavy. Oh jeez. This is heavy. Every inch of that super is full of honey. I suspect this is exactly the same. Now, I'm going to clean off the refractometer and do another frame down here. Lower into the hive here, but it was probably made the same time as the other super. So all the brood has emerged. Now that honey is 20 and a half or so. So that's actually too light. If I mix thoroughly together all the honey in this super with all the honey in that super, that would probably still be absolutely fine. So we're looking for about 18 and a half. But I better take another sample. And that honey is about 16. So I think with a few bits and pieces of exceptions, this honey is absolutely ready to be taken off. So heavy. Much newer honey. Okay, I saw a drop come out of that. Cured as well. That is about 16. That means 16%. The target is below 18.5%. So this super has to come off as well. Capped. Now this is a super that I do want to be capped though. This is my comb honey. So this is not coming off unless it's capped. priority here was we were going to check the brood chamber. That was the plan. So they had built out all the comb, virtually all of it. So we can look for queen cells. First of all, the simple way to look this way. And looks like we may still have a queen cell right here. I don't know if that's got anything in it. Yeah, there's something in it. There's one queen cell there. So that means I've got to go look through the rest. So have a quick look through all these brood combs. If there are any queen cells, dispatch them. Look at that. Brood packed right out to the outer edge. The queen has been forced to use just the 10 frames, and so she has got brood right out to the outer edge. This is the advantage of a single brood chamber management, is that you can get the queen to utilize every single frame in your brood chamber. Look at that. Now I do have a queen cell here. That's going. There's the one here that's destroyed. No more here. Queen cells there. So the bees must perceive that they would still have a chance if they swarmed right now, because they're producing a few queen cells. Normally they would stop producing queen cells if the honey flow had come to an end entirely. The bees continue honey flow. 3 queen cells here, they've got to go. If I miss one, I'll still get a swarm. Wherever the brood is emerging, the queen is laying here. With a few exceptions, there's a little bit of honey stored in here as well. Not much. Very little food in the brood chamber as such. They move it all up into the honey supers. So that's all the brood chamber's gone through. Removed any queen cells. Queen excluder's going back on. And I'd say the honey flow is dying down enough that I bet I don't have to go back through this again next week. I bet that's probably the end of the queen cells here, but we'll see. But we'll get this put back together. Only we're going to put it back together in a fashion that I can take these honey supers off in the very near future. So, my comb honey supers going right there. Then I'm going to put my relatively empty honey super directly above it. Now is put my escape board on so I can harvest the honey in these 3 boxes I've taken off to one side. So I've gone through the brood chamber, removed all the any queen cells, put the queen excluder back on, got my comb honey super here, 2/3 empty honey super here. Now I'm putting on the bee escape. The bee escape is a one-way door. The bees go through this hole and they can come out these 3 points, but they cannot figure how to go back up to get up into the higher parts of the box. So this acts like a one-way door and the bees can only go down. So I'm going to put my heaviest box on first because I don't want to lift it any higher than I have to. Okay, there's a good 60 pounds of honey in that box, and probably 30,000 bees. The next box, very similar. I've got about 30,000 bees and maybe 50 pounds of honey in there. I don't want to squash the bees. Some bees do get squashed. These honey supers, this feels nice and light by comparison. I've still got about 30 pounds of honey in it. One of the great advantages of these foil inner covers, a lot of people ask me questions about them. The thing I like about them absolutely the most is when it comes to using a bee escape, because it makes for a really good seal around the top, where otherwise we might get bees getting out or coming in to rob. So now we make sure that there's no other ways in and out, and I can see that there might be in and out here. So what I'll need to take place. What I don't want is all these hives coming back here through this little hole and stealing the honey. All these other cracks, bees can't get through. But that's vulnerable. So we're going to tape that up. So as bees come in and out of here, we're going to make sure they cannot anymore. You can use any tape for this. No point in using expensive duct tape. Got some good packing tape. Will do the job. Seal it all up. That's protected. Now I'm looking around the other seams. These look okay. Some possibility there, but I think we're good now. So the Damaree Split hive, the one I did the video about, is come along great. The hive was wanting to swarm when we first did it, cut out the queen cells, moved all the brood upstairs into these two areas here, and took the queen with a single frame of brood, and she went in here. I put 2 or 3 other empty frames in there to give her immediate room to lay, and the rest was foundation. They have now built all the foundation out, filled 8 out of 10 of the frames with brood, and since then all the brood up here has emerged. Initially they made queen cells which had to be cut out after a week. Once those queen cells were cut out after a week, they couldn't make any more queen cells, so this was now not going to produce any queens for swarming. They filled that honey super, this brood chamber full of honey, and this brood chamber full of honey, and I would say we've got 60 pounds in here, maybe 40 pounds in that one, and probably 25 pounds in the top one. So about 125 pounds of honey I'm taking off this hive. This super, which we've just added, has about 10 pounds of honey in it over the course of the last week. And there's probably about 20 pounds of honey in my comb honey super, which is filled up over the course of the last 3 to 4 weeks. In the most recent week, they've continued to, let's say about 3 weeks after doing the split, I started to get queen cells down here because the hive is so strong and still ready to swarm. So I took all the queen cells out there, and again I've gone through this week and taken out all the queen cells again. And so this will be good for another week when I'll go back and check to see if there are any queen cells being done. But now the honey flow is coming to an end, I don't really expect many more queen cells. In the meantime, I've put a skateboard here, a one-way door, which will get all of the bees out of these 3 boxes down into the rest of the hive, which is going to leave this hive relatively crowded. So I'll probably, when I take this off, I'll probably come back and put one more empty honey super on, just to give these bees somewhere to hang out, because they're going to be bursting at the seam with bees here. And then I'll extract my 125 pounds of honey or so from this hive and put those supers back on somewhere else. So that's the progress with my Damaree Split hive. Okay, my wife's been very patient, so I am going to wrap up here. Maybe do some editing of the video, who knows? Maybe a little bit after we get back from dinner. Anyhow, the problem with beekeeping is you're obsessional about it. Okay, so that's it. I'm taking tomorrow off because it's my birthday as well. So see you in a few days. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.